Alright, so now we're heading over into Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. And I forever feel bad for Everglow because he's trying to do his timeline and they keep putting shit in before Birth by Sleep. Like, this man will never be able to finish his timeline series until probably Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out. So, Missing Link, it starts off with an Unwritten Era, which is notable because this could mean, like, an unwritten era from the Book of Prophecies, or it could just mean that, oh, this story hasn't been told yet, which is probably what it is. Now, we see this cut to different scenes, which is starts off with the Master of Masters from back cover, the tutorial of Key, then an Ephemera shaking hands, Strelitzia dying, and then it pauses, which I believe is signaling this game will take place between the Union Cross and Dark Road. And then we see Kid Nort leaving the islands. We see Old Nort in Birth by Sleep at the Keyblade Graveyard, and then we see young Riku at the door of Destiny Islands. And then it goes back to BBS Nort and then Kid Nort before it shows us more of the actual Missing Link game, again indicating that between Union Cross and Dark Road, this is when this story takes place. Now, I find it interesting that there's a focus on Riku for Kingdom Hearts 1. They're focusing on Xehanort and Riku and the islands, which I'm not sure if they're trying to imply some sort of connection. I really hope they aren't. I really don't want Riku and Xehanort to be related, but if that's what happens, that's what happens. But yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. I think that's kind of weird. That being said, I'm asking, like, I hope they're not connected, and literally the next line is everything is connected, so everybody's here. So then it cuts to some Kingdom Shader graphics. Now, I know that some people are like, well, if it's in the Kingdom Shader and using KH3's graphics, why not just put it on console? Well, one, mobile games require less graphical fidelity, so they could get away with a less detailed version of these models. Two, Key and Union Cross and Dark Road have had 2 animators. Like, I love the storybook pop-up aesthetic, but it's clear that they cannot continue with this particular art style because they just simply don't have enough people working on it. Yeah, I think the moving to the graphics that there's a larger team working with, which is the Kingdom Shader stuff, I think that is a good decision. Plus, again, like, they can get away with less details. So yeah. So yeah, we get this whole, we're in the dark area of Skull Kylum. Presumably Lushu in the dark area of Skull Kylum, and the narration begins. Now, the thing is that, according to the Q&A and some other details, the narration for both Missing Link and Kingdom Hearts 4 is done by a character we have known for a long time, so it's implied to be the same character. Now, I did go through, like, I listened to, I listened to, like, who I think it could have possibly been. So the one for Missing Link, so on KH13, they're implying that maybe, like, they're thinking maybe the translator thinks it's young Xehanort. It doesn't sound like young Xehanort to me, at least not in Missing Link. The closest it sounds to is Ephemera, but it still doesn't quite match. It doesn't match Lushu, and it doesn't match the Master of Masters, and it does not match Xigbar. So if it is Lushu, it's probably, like, just a different form of Lushu, like a new semblance. So, the narration here is light and darkness brought about the beginning, and hearts nurtured it. And there's this whole life was passed down from time to time again until the land was filled with thriving people. It's a city of light and darkness, dreams of distortion, remembering the forgotten Scala at Kylum. So Scala is definitely a city of of opposites. A lot of other people on Twitter have and in other spheres of like in discords and stuff have talked about this. I don't think there is a light skull and a dark skull. I do think they're on like the same area. It's just that some areas are dark, some are light. You know, it's not two completely separate worlds. At least I don't think so. So now what's noticeable here is that, and I'm still going with that this is Lushu, but Lushu covers the gazing eye on No Name, which I believe is very important. Because again, this is supposed to be an unwritten era, so if the very least is probably symbolic at the very least. I think this may be the start of Lushu's path to being the traitor, if he, whatever that means, because it's almost like Lushu didn't want the master to see something. Now, I don't like the whole Lushu's the traitor plot, but who knows where that could go, but the covering up the gazing eye on No Name, I think, is a pretty important detail, and perhaps symbolic. So then we see a probably, yeah, no, it's a player character in a white outfit that is very similar to Sigurd's dark outfit that we see in Dark Road, or not Dark Road, the end of Unit Cross, sorry. So while this narration is like life was passed down time and time again, I'm pretty sure that this whole narration bit, it seems like this is the tutorial of the game, this is where you're at, right? So I think this is narration as part of the tutorial of the game. In the background, I've noticed like some cloaked figure statues. These are the ones that appear to be the same scene at the end of Unicross, where Brain shows up in the dark version of Scala, or sorry, Dark Scala. I don't want to call it dark version of Scala, but it's just Dark Scala. So this character holds up a hand to their ear, like an earpiece, similar to how Sigurd did. I feel like this is going to be a more organized, like, Keyblade battalion army. Who knows? Like, it's obvious that Scala used to be thriving with just Keyblade wielders up the wazoo, and they have like some sort of police force. I don't know. So the white-coated character summons a red and black Keyblade that has gear motifs on it, not only on the teeth but also on the keychain. So then from this, so the character kind of holds up the Keyblade in the same way that Ephemer's statue is, in which we're seeing Ephemer's statue in 3D, and I'm so, oh my god. So from here, the camera pans up to these larger buildings, and I noticed that there are some banners with what looks to be tulips on them. And I did look up the symbolism of tulips, and tulips, they mainly symbolize everlasting love, but they also symbolize rebirth, which is very fitting for a town that was essentially reborn after the Keyblade War. That being said, these are red tulips, and red tulips are supposed to symbolize the love part, so who knows, it's probably just a nice aesthetic, but, or maybe it's just a generic thing for tulips, who knows. So then we get the missing link, so the title, and then that whole text pans vertically to start the gameplay section, also kind of indicating that this game is, you know, a mobile title. We get some more narration here. Here people gathered to be part of a whole in societies that sprawled and branched like veins through the city. I find it interesting that the whole, like, oh, they became part of a whole, kind of like darkness, but, you know, whatever. So I will say that neither the city grid on the screen neither the city grid that's like below like the presumed screen, nor did the building on the phone, they look like architecture from Scala. It looks just kind of like generic buildings. It kind of looks like Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 in New York City. Not trying to knock the graphics. It's obvious that this title is early in production. I'd say like they're going to have a closed beta at some point during the year, like around like fall, so this is obviously like alpha, maybe even pre-alpha footage. So we do see like stuff like in this grid in the background. We like green pin markers. There's some heartless that are in full color. There are heartless that are clear, which I'm assuming this may be like, oh, this is an encounter that you've already done type thing. So these can all be seen on the grid. We see some wall running, so this game is making use of KH3's code and its animations and its movements in addition to its graphics. I notice there's some sort of circle around the player as you navigate through the area. I don't know if that's supposed to be your like area around you, like if you encounter Heartless anywhere in that area, that's where the battle starts. Maybe it's helping render some buildings in the background. It was kind of hard to tell what this circle was actually doing. But it does look like colliding with a Heartless starts a battle, kind of like how it does in, you know, Chain of Memories, or like, you know, RPGs with random battles. But the combat takes place inside of a circle, which appears smaller than the one that we see in the overworld, so I'm not really sure what that first initial circle does. From here, the video pans to horizontal, so it's possible that battles may be forced to horizontal, or it's just showing clearer footage. So a lot of people have noticed, but like certain attacks summon a statue of a known character. These statues, I did notice that these statue attacks can be used during any point in a combo. And there are some just non-statue attacks, like maybe some basic magic and a basic attack. Now, I personally believe that this is going to be the newest iteration of calling upon the powers from the future to aid you in battle. Essentially, this game's version of the cards and medals that we see in Union Cross. More of a collector aspect, gacha thing. I really hope there's not a whole lot of gacha, but, you know. The free-to-play model is what it is. So one of the characters that is shown off is a female presenting character in the same white uniform. Now, we later see a female presenting character in green, so with a different keyblade. It has a green and black keyblade, what looks to be like some sort of lamppost design. So I do think that we are going to get some customization options for our player characters. Then we swap to this panning shot of the Kingdom of Corona Forest with combat there, whereas the first combat area was in a generic city. I'm curious to see like if this is supposed to be Corona before Rapunzel was born, or it's a projection from the Book of Prophecies. Who knows if we're going to be encountering any actual Disney characters in this game. It's really early on. They're just kind of showing off battles. We then cut to a battle in what I'm presuming is Dark Scala, because there are some similar architecture seen in like Scala that we see in KH3, like in the underground waterway area. So this is a red Keyblade wielder again, like maybe a different outfit with a red and black gear Keyblade. There are multiple areas shown. There's this underground factory waterway area, and then there's like an outer courtyard. And then we cut to the Forest of Thorns, which is what I'm presuming it is. It looks very similar to the battle area of the Forest of Thorns from 0.2, with a dark side fight, and there are multiple characters present. And the player character that we are seeing, that presumably the main one that we were playing as here, they have a Keyblade here that's similar to Starlight, so there's at least 3 Keyblades that we can use. I wanted to talk about a few notes from KH13. So it looks like there can be a maximum of 6 players that can play together, and so the screen orientation can be switched between portrait and landscape. Let's see. There are 2 systems. A story mode where you progress through quests, and a mode where you walk around, comparable to Pokemon Go, but with ways to play it even without having to walk around in real life. So that I'm not too against. I haven't played Pokemon Go in quite a while, but hey, if there's a wander around, you in this walking mode, you'll collect pieces and strengthen your Keyblade, so if you could do that. That being said, I'm not personally, I don't know if I'm personally going to play this game. Mobile games just never keep my attention. So, Um, uh, promises to have action elements to be as faithful as possible to the main series. So we do see that with this dark side battle. It's kind of interesting. But from there, we do cut back to Luciu in the alleyway, and then it cuts to Brain, who is on a balcony of a taller building. And I know some people are talking about how Brain's face looks a little jank. Yeah, it's not polished. This game, as I mentioned, is probably very early in development. So I think this is either alpha or pre-alpha footage. Now, the narration here says, the night you awoke in this world, the stars shone contorted in the pitch black sky. And as it's doing this, it cuts to like the building that we see right before all the gameplay, but it's at nighttime. Now, I don't know who is being talked to. I'm presuming this is somebody talking to Brain, and if Brain is the subject, who is this long-known character that is talking to Brain, because it has to be someone in Skalad Kylam. But the phrasing here is kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of when I was talking about how the Hearts of Worlds were opened in KH1, the worlds would have a meteor shower. So I think maybe Brain landing in Skala somehow caused the world's heart, the door to the world's heart to open, and maybe a meteor shower happens, which it's unclear what happens to Skala after Dark Road. So we'll find out in Dark Road, but it seems like Skala's almost in its own dimension, which is kind of interesting. Or at the very least, it's in a world that's really just kind of separated from everything else. So it's kind of interesting to see like what happened to this world. I know that some people think it's like in the realm of sleep, just based off of the portal that Sora opened, but I think it was more of just Sora opened a portal on Xehanort to trap him somewhere, and I think Xehanort's heart influenced where they would go. I still think they were in the realm of light. I think Skalad Kylam's in the realm of light. There's just probably a different way to get there. So yeah, and I just want to make a final note that I love this version of Dearly Beloved. It fucking slaps. Yeah, I like it. It's a good Dearly Beloved. Always more like funky Dearly Beloved. Let's go for it. Let's go. But yeah, so that's mainly it for Missing Link. There's a lot there. It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm personally going to be more interested in the story aspect of it. I don't know if I'm going to pick this up. I might try it out for a little bit just because why not? But yeah, who knows.